I am not a health person. I began studying computer science at MIT. I was at the MIT AI lab. I got a PhD in AI from the University of Sussex. And then I've done a wide variety of things career-wise, ranging from intelligent computer-aided design to computational finance using predictive analytics. But I've always had an interest in health, and I'm really happy now to be working with the great team at xCures. And it's an unfortunate thing, but as we all get older, we are going to have to deal with cancer more and more. And at xCures, we are helping to beat advanced cancer by enabling patients and their doctors to prioritize and access the best treatments and tests, by creating a learning system that efficiently incorporates results from all patients on all therapies at all times. Advanced cancer patients are the people who have exhausted the standard of care, so they're basically out of hope, and they have an urgent need to find innovative therapies. On the flip side of this is their oncologists are overwhelmed as well. When you look at the problems that oncologists face, there are about on the order of 1 million to 2 million new diagnoses per year of cancer in the United States. There are only 13,000 oncologists. There's a lot of numbers on this page about specialists and number of treatment options. The main thing I want to get to here, though, is if you look at the guidelines for treating patients on a per cancer type, breast cancer, prostate cancer, and so forth, the guidelines have gone from about 25 pages per cancer type in 1996 to over 200 pages today. So that's a tremendous jump, and oncologists are overwhelmed. Another way of looking at this is by looking at the evolution of cancer trials. So in the good old days, what we would call the pre-omic era, we looked at cancer in terms of tissue type, so lung cancer, breast cancer, et cetera. And the treatments were pretty much all cytotoxics, chemotherapies. The goal was to kill the cancer, hopefully before killing the patient. That's why you thought of cancer patients as being rather sickly. Their hair was falling out. They were always fatigued. So you had essentially about a 10 by 10 grid, 10 types of treatments and 10 types of cancers. You divide the 1 million patients a year who are coming in getting sick by these 100 combinations, and you got about 10,000 patients per trial. So if you were bringing a new drug onto the market in a particular indication, you could develop a randomized controlled trial around one of these because you had about 10,000 patients to draw on. Now you fast forward today to the molecular era, and we know a lot more about cancer these days. We know about genomics, proteomics, biomarkers, et cetera. So now we're not talking about pancreatic cancer. We're talking about pancreatic cancer with a MAP kinase mutation. We're treating it with a MEK inhibitor and a checkpoint inhibitor and an anticoagulant altogether. We still have that 1 million patients a year coming in, but now when we look at the combination of features times the number of treatment options taken in combination, we're talking about tens of billions of combinations. Divide those two numbers and you wind up on the order of 0 patients in every one of these boxes. And that brings us to the paradox of today. For randomized controlled trials, they're very slow to accrue because there are very few patients who meet the inclusion and exclusion criteria for any one particular trial. Yet at the same time, 95% of patients can't participate in those clinical trials because they don't meet the criteria. Our goal at xCures is to say, for these other 95% of the patients, we know their doctors are treating them somehow. Can we coordinate, gather clinical grade data on all those patients and use adaptive Bayesian trial designs to get coherent data that allows us to learn from all of those patients? And rather than in a clinical trial where the patient is on a single protocol all the way through, realizing that for these patients, if they don't respond on one treatment and they go on another treatment and then another treatment, there's actually maybe 100 times more the amount of data that we can capture this way than just that 5% of patients on a clinical trial. To do this, we've solved 3 critical challenges. One is knowing the patient in great detail about their current clinical situation. The second is creating an options library of all the treatment options that make sense after the patient has exhausted the standard of care. And the third is to gather expert insights from medical experts and key opinion leaders and combine that with AI and machine learning to be able to match up these patients with the right treatments. This is just a brief overview of our technology, where what we've done is we've ingested general medical data into our machine learning technology to create this options library. We can use that when a patient comes into our system to generate a ranked list of treatment options and rationales. That goes to the patient's treating oncologist, and if they have a virtual tumor board, to that tumor board to suggest a ranked list of treatment options. That then generates a suggested treatment plan for the patient. And again, like Alan said, this is not taking the humans out of the loop. This is augmenting the humans with additional information. You have the patient outcome data then gets fed back into the system. The system becomes smarter based on seeing how the patient responded. When the next patient comes in, the same thing happens again. You go around this in a virtuous cycle, and the system continues to get smarter. So we think this is the ultimate win-win situation. More patients get more treatment options in exchange for providing their anonymized data for data use. Because the system generates more data, both providers and pharma companies can make their new therapies available much faster than under the old paradigm of randomized controlled trials. And if I can leave you with one thought today, it's that every turn through this virtuous flywheel is helping improve the lives of future cancer patients.